Well, good morning. Are you having a good morning? Good. Did you cut your political TV watching down a bit this last week to make a difference? Great. This morning, I'm going to be talking about what it means to be an Agni Yogi. I was thinking on the way over here how, oh my gosh, it must have been 15 years ago. A local newspaper interviewed me about spiritual thought and what I did. And one of the questions was, what is Agni Yoga? Can you define Agni Yoga for me? Well, 15 years ago, I had a textbook definition. Now, fast forward 15, 20 years, I have the experience. So I put the textbook definition of Agni Yoga, put it in the framework of experience. Now it makes sense. Once you have experience of how Agni Yoga is defined, it's like it opens up a whole new world of understanding the purpose of life, understanding how difficult and challenging it is to evolve, how challenging it is to walk a path that is pioneering in relationship to humanity, because from the human point of view, it almost seems you're like with those fish that swim upstream, against the rhythm and the stream of life. But what happens is, in this experience of swimming upstream, is that you begin to place a respect on life that you've never had before. You become illuminated, and in your illumination, you understand causes. You understand what fire is. Fire is the essence of who you are. Fire is the essence of the self within, that capital S self within, that's trying to manifest in all that you do and say and think. It's trying to manifest through your physical, etheric body, your emotional body, the emotional plane, mental body, mental plane, intuition, intuitional plane. And it creates a perspective, a point of view about life that a very small percentage of population has. So then your challenge is, you're in your illumination, which means you're functioning at least in the purity of the higher mind and in the resonance of the intuitive body, the Buddhic plane. And you're having to have a relationship with a humanity that is still trying to figure out how to pay their bills. Just to show you, the extremes between an illuminated individual and one who thinks that life is about their 9-to-5 job. How do you communicate as an Agni Yogi with people in such a way that you can open up the blinds in their life and to help them revere their own life? no matter their situation, no matter the station of life they find themselves in, whether it's in a caste system in India, whether it is being born to wealth, whether it is being born into a third world country, that you are opening up the blinds in their life to help them revere their life, to help them revere why they were born into this life and into this situation and into this city and into this family. And that's what being an Agni Yogi does. It helps you to see the causes. It helps you to open up the blinds in people's lives to help them recognize that they have a divine essence. So that's my introduction as to what does it mean to be an Agni Yogi. One day a student asked the mother of Agni Yoga, who was Helena Rourke, this was the question: who should receive the Agni Yoga teaching? She answered, initially it should be given to people through attracting them by the joy, the beauty of the teaching, bringing light and joy into their lives. Light and joy and beauty. Agni Yoga is related to light, it's related to energy, it's related to fire, and it's related to will. Those four things, with all the 13, 14, 15, 16 books of Agni Yoga, those are the four main themes that you're going to read about over and over and over again from a multi-layer perspective. So we start with light. You're going to learn a lot about light as you study and experience it. Study it in the teachings and experience it in your life. Energy. What is energy? What is the source of energy? What kind of energy are we talking about? Constructive energy, destructive energy, creative energy, the energy of consciousness. See, all of these themes distill down to the heading of energy. And then fire. It took me years to understand what the teaching meant about fire. When we see fire from the bonfire point of view, right? So we don't want to get too close to that fire. When I was going to the University of Iowa, we were part of the Big Ten football. And so our homecoming experience, if you can just imagine, we built this bonfire that was like a story high. It was huge, but it was a big deal. So thousands of us from the university, homecoming was a big deal because we usually won our game. But that first experience I ever had, there was no way I could get anywhere close to that bonfire. Fire produces heat, right? Okay, but now if you've studied anything about Blavatsky's teachings, theosophy, but particularly Helena Blavatsky, where she starts talking about what fire is, it opens up a whole new world of understanding. And in essence, fire is who we are. The essence, our capital S self, is made of fire, which we understand as spirit. So fire is spirit. Spirit is life. So we have light and energy and fire and will. Fire is life. If that essence within us leaves, then we have no essence, no fire, no life. So our challenge is to increase light, increase fire. Being an Agni Yogi stirs your inner fires and awakens your virtues and dreams and visions. So, as an Agni Yogi, you're going to have value system and principles and virtues that are extraordinary. They're not the common virtue or the common principle. These are higher principles, higher values, higher virtues. Higher virtues, higher values, higher principles are based on a refined energy, refined light. It reminds me of when the stories we've been told by Nicholas Rourke and his painting and the colors that he would use in his work, his painting, the tempera and so forth, that in his dreams, now keep in mind he was an Agni Yogi, and I just said that virtues and dreams and visions represent the Agni Yogi. Okay, so the dream of Nicholas Rourke, he was able to dream colors that we still don't have in physical manifestation. So he had to find a way to replicate those colors somehow, in some way. And so he worked with it, and he had co-workers that helped him discover and how to bring these colors that he saw in his dreams into manifestation. And thus, when you look at a painting by Nicholas Rourke, you are inspired if you have a heart that's receptive, the nature of a heart that's receptive to the radiance of his dreams, of his visions. It's very interesting. Being a practitioner of Agni Yoga ignites the fire within you, the capital S self. If you don't understand or remember anything else that I say this morning, when you read that word fire in any of the Agni Yoga teachings, you are talking about the capital S self, which is trying to manifest within you. So fire means your inner essence. It is the inner fire that gives light to all human beings. This is one of the insights to what it means to be an Agni Yogi. It means that you will be igniting the spiritual fires within you, that you will become increasingly responsive to the higher self, which is trying to manifest itself in all parts of your life, all aspects of your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual life. Agni Yoga teaches that in the beginning there was only light. We understand light by these two words, materia lucida. Materia lucida. This light slowly penetrates into the minds of humanity, not just the Agni Yogi person, but in the minds of humanity, according to their response and reaction to the formulated light, then determines who they are, what their value system is, what kind of virtues they live in their life, and what their principles are based on. So, I'll explain that in a minute through a story. The deeper, the more spiritually advanced is the Agni Yogi, the more accurately they can translate the light. Okay? The more accurately they can translate this materia lucida. The student would in other words, the greater your spiritual unfoldment, the deeper you can penetrate into the light. Well, what does it mean to penetrate more deeply into the light. It's like, I hear these words. It says 15 years ago, I read these words, I heard these words. What does it mean to you, to me, to us as a group, or to us as a nation to penetrate more deeply into the light? Now here's the story. It's a beautiful story that I tell every once in a while because it's still so impressive. It's a story about this old, uneducated, no PhD, man. Now, it could be a woman too. And why do I bring that up? Because a person of this degree is sexless. They've merged that masculine, feminine principle into their being. So this sexless, old, uneducated being, I know, we have to keep a sense of humor, was living in a cave in a very remote mountain. There was a student, and the student would daily climb the mountain to have a deep discussion with this old man. One day the boy asked the old man, he said, how do you know what is going on in this nation and that nation, and in education and in commerce, in finance and this and that? He said that, well, there's a substance in the universe which reflects everything that is happening on the earth. If you have a connection with that substance, you can look at that substance and see what is happening in the world. Imagine that. He told the boy, when you walk down from the valley, when you leave me and you walk down the mountain into the valley and go into the village, you're going to see something. And the boy said, well, what am I going to see? And this old man said, you're going to see a tiger. Well, how do you know this? The boy said, because I saw, the old man says, because I saw in that mirror that substance. The boy said, what substance? He said, the substance is sometimes called materia lucida, the material light. The higher part of materia lucida is called acacia. Everything that happens in the world, physically, emotionally, and mentally, are the recordings that you have in the book of God. In the Bible, it says the book of God. What is the book of God? In the ageless wisdom, we read it is the Akashic layer in the universe, and this Akashic layer photographs and records everything. The Agni Yoga is a pure person who has a pure heart and has access to this higher layer. So as the story went on, the boy went down the mountain and into the village and encountered the tiger, which is very metaphorical, and we don't have time to go into it this morning, but part of it is in my talk, if you pay attention, what the tiger means. So our translation of the light depends on how illumined we are. It depends on how much we can absorb the light, understand it, and then manifest it. How much of the light we can absorb, how much we understand it, and then manifest it. To the degree that we can do this is the degree that we can apply Agni energies into our lives. Here's a quote from New Era Community Sloka 42. Does not knowledge of the Spirit discern the light? Materia lucida. To the wild spirit, materia lucida is a curling chaos. But for the knowing spirit, it is the harp of light. Between the worlds, thread-like, stretches materia lucida. Only enormous distance blends together the waves of threads into the vibration of the heavenly rainbow. One can begin to strive toward the far-off worlds by following that thread of light, realized by the Spirit. This is a very scientific experiment. As has been said, small actions require assistance and apparatuses, but nothing external is needed for a great action. Again, that's from the book New Era Community, Sloka 42. When great teachers speak about Agni Yoga, they understand it as the formulation of light. See what that means now? No? Yes? Okay. Yes, we understand. We're going to understand it more as we think about it, right? And study it and take that word light into our reading of Agni Yoga. And see all the various aspects of light in its formulation. Speaking of light, one of the key themes of Agni Yoga is a concealed light that's within a person. So that means we have a concealed light, but also the planet has a concealed light. The solar system also has concealed light. And also within the whole manifested cosmos, there is concealed light. Once we feel a driving search within our soul, it's at that point this light becomes ignited. A little bit more and a little bit more, and we become an aspirant of life. As we become an aspirant of life, the higher level of our solar plexus is activated, and the beginning of the regeneration of our heart occurs. If in your search you begin to clean yourself and purify yourself. So regeneration of the heart, see, this is another subject to think about. What does it mean, regeneration of the heart? I can say a little bit about it because of our limited time here. Regeneration of the heart does not necessarily mean the physical heart, although the physical heart will respond to the regeneration of the heart. So we want to take the word heart and add in parentheses S. So the regeneration of the heart means regeneration of the petals of the heart. And as the petals of the heart begin to unfold, then our whole consciousness regenerates. In that regeneration, it's when the self, that capital S, the essence of who we are, begins to manifest through our breathing, through our thinking, through our actions, through our understanding of what our life purpose is. So that's what's meant by, in a nutshell, the regeneration of our heart. Agni Yoga suggests various practical disciplines to put into our life to help us evolve. See, this is not about evolution in the Christian sense. This is about giving our soul an opportunity to progress, to advance, to evolve. But we are warned before deciding to enter the path of Agni Yoga. The Master Morya says, "He who would swim must dive fearlessly into the water. And he who has decided to master Agni Yoga must transform through it his entire life." We start with light, and then energy, and then fire, and then will. Those 4 themes. Why do people think they can accord, this is still Master Morya talking, why do people think they can accord to yoga just a portion of some idle hour, remaining during the rest of the time in impure thought? Fairly, all actions must be infused with the purifying, fiery striving. Fire purifies. Think of that big bonfire. You can't get too close. It's like you can't get too close to the Christ if you're still burning wood. As you study Agni Yoga, you're going to discover the light, the energies, the fire, the will, the laws supporting the whole creation and manifesting in humanity and in the universe. As an Agni Yogi, you will be a person who wants to know, who wants to find the underlying reason for all that is taking place in life, in your life and in life universally. As an Agni Yogi, you will become a person who has no prejudice, no preconceived ideas, but who has a free and open mind. What do you do with your opinions? What do you do with your opposing opinions? It's very interesting to read, to do a word search on the Agni Yoga website search engine on the term opinions. Sometimes the master says opinions okay. Other times he said don't be opinionated. Other times opposing opinions are okay because it will manifest truth as long as the opinions are not argumentative and irritating. It's very interesting. So, an Agni Yoga, as an Agni Yogi, we are going to be a person who has no prejudice, no preconceived ideas, but who has a free and open mind. You will be a person who does not want to limit yourself with any dogma, doctrine, or religion, although you will respect them and try to find the causes and effects of their existence. An Agni Yogi becomes a searcher, not a researcher, a searcher of causes. We can't find cause on the internet. An Agni Yogi becomes a searcher of causes, meanings, and significances. You will no longer be satisfied with a life lived on the surface, but will search for the depths. You learn that life works through energies and forces and through different planes of consciousness. Now, the Agni Yogi has to figure out what plane of consciousness am I on so I can communicate with that person. If they're totally physical, then that Agni Yogi cannot talk to you through the higher mind, because that energy will burn the person before they're ready, their physical consciousness. See, it's too much, it's too much. It would be like an atomic physicist talking to me. They'd have to dumb it down quite a bit so that I could understand. So you will learn that life works through energies and forces and through different planes of consciousness. So as a speaker, as a leader, as an Agni Yogi, you have to determine, what plane of consciousness are you going to be speaking through. Also, that electromagnetic plane, for example, the etheric plane is the world of force. It's a world of force. The emotional and mental spheres are also levels of force. In other words, effect. Not causes, but effect. Then you take those effects and you choose to engage in your spiritual creative work. I know that's a lot, but you can think about it. When you begin to function as an Agni Yogi, you will function on the higher planes, within the higher spheres of energy. These spheres of energy are what Agni Yoga calls the super mundane world. The Agni Yogi is a great humanitarian. Life is sacred for that person. He stands for beauty and synthesis, for simplicity, creative thought, and has a fiery heart. Do you see now what fiery heart means? It means that essence of the greater self is manifesting through the heart nature, those various increments of the heart from the higher worlds. Thus, the Agni Yogi has abundance. He or she has access to the creative energy of the higher spheres. The Agni Yogi aspires and strives to help humanity wherever the yogi finds him or herself, to bring joy to every heart and a smile to every face. It is becoming increasingly difficult to bring a smile to someone's face. Why? Because they think you have ulterior motives. Why? Because in your light, it reflects their darkness. And that darkness is reacting. Why are you smiling at me? Why are you laughing? There's something wrong going on with you. It's very interesting and very challenging. The Agni Yogi is a pioneer, a person of the future, a person whose horizon is unlimited and whose humility is great. The Agni Yogi becomes aware of the infinite beauty, harmony, and goodness behind the world of forms. Many, listen to this, many on this path fall if they try to use revealed energies of the higher spheres for selfish advantages. If they become hypnotists and mediums, black magicians, fanatics, or persons who create hatred and separatism and crime and sensuality and many other negative conditions, they are going to fall. The higher spheres of energy are known as the fiery world, as I've said. In fact, 3 of the Agni Yoga series are titled Fiery World, which gives you ancient and future revelations about these worlds. At the present, the fiery world includes the mental plane, the Buddhic plane, and the Atmic planes. If you want to travel the path of Agni Yoga, you will need a pure heart. See, that regenerated heart. Why a pure heart? In the book Heart, it says, whoever observes the manifestations of subtle energies knows how the heart is inalienably associated with them. That person, that yogi, knows how hard it is among the tigers. Remember Tiger and that old, uneducated, sexless man? It's danger all around you. He knows how hard it is among the tigers to rise and carry others into the higher spheres. But this is the labor of those who begin the new world, because even the beginning must be a perceptible one. The Agni Yogi is a person who will experience many difficulties. He sincerely tries to liberate another human being. So he experiences many difficulties as he sincerely tries to liberate another human being. But you can't liberate another human being if you yourself are not liberated yet. So don't go out to the world now and try to liberate the world. You have to start with a pure heart. It is not the soul of a person who is dangerous, but the blind urges and drives, all his habits, the overwhelming subconscious elements in which he is buried, not to mention all the entities who have an interest in keeping that person immersed in all of his blind urges and drives, and so forth, because they are nourishment to these entities. The moment an Agni Yogi tries to help a person, he is subject to and can feel the attacks of all those elements. So imagine being an Agni Yogi and experiencing these attacks and surviving. Even the person's karma, your karma, will attack that Agni Yogi. If the heart of the Agni Yogi is not pure, he or she is going to attack back. And when an Agni Yogi attacks, he will devour you. He will devour you. But then he's going to fail because he has misused the energy. So, imagine the responsibility you have being an Agni Yogi. When another person attacks you, if you want to continue to evolve and progress, you cannot devour your attacker. The higher spheres of the consciousness of the Agni Yogi are levels where one lives purely and becomes noble and harmless and self-sacrificial and enthusiastic and dedicated to a great plan. These higher spheres are also known as the higher mind, the Buddhic sphere, and the related spheres where the higher ashrams exist. The study of Agni Yoga brings us closer to the far-off worlds. The Master M instructed, "You may ask me what physical exercises are useful in Agni Yoga." He said, well, I advise short pranayama in the morning, no longer than 5 minutes. One should abstain from meat, except smoked meats. Vegetables, fruit, milk, and cereals are always acceptable. All wines are also barred, except for curative purposes. Opium, I had to look that up. Opium is heroin. He says that heroin is the enemy of Agni Yoga. The clouds in the sky weigh upon an Agni Yogi. He says, I advise you to insulate the footwear with rubber and to walk in the morning avoiding smoke. Well, you know, that you have to put yourself in that environment. And the other thing about milk, for example, you'll learn in the Agni Yoga teachings, it says, you have to know your cow. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but you've got to know your cow. What kind of grass is your cow eating? What kind of treatment and care is your cow receiving? So on and so forth. It's very interesting. And the same thing, like with sheep's milk, you've got to know your lamb. You've got to know what the lamb is eating. If you're going to have feta cheese, you've got to know about your lamb. It goes on and on and on. And so if you're a real diehard Agni Yogi, you're going to go to the farm and meet your cow. But things have changed since these teachings. It's like smoked meat. Smoked meat today is very different from smoked meat back in the early 1900s, where that smoked meat was not processed. Today, now it is very processed. So do you really want to eat carcinogenic smoked meat? Be really careful. Smoke your own. So forth. With valor must the various communications of life be received, since it is impossible otherwise to decide where is the good and where is the bad. This is a quote from Agni Yoga, Sloka 166. Well, that's not bad. 7-point type. I'm still reading it without glasses. It was worth it. He who transmits into life the true yoga fulfills his great mission. Thus, therefore, before us is the foundation of Agni Yoga. So, I hope you have learned something this morning about Agni Yoga and what it is and what it means to be an Agni Yogi. And begin to challenge yourself, if you want to be on this path of the Agni Yogi.